Welcome back to the session. Today we will discuss about the three different ways of declaring variables in JavaScript. Until this point we have used the let keyword to declare variables. Here we have the keywords const and var also. The keywords let and const are introduced in ES6. So they are modern JavaScript. While the var keyword is the old way of declaring variables. And now we will learn how they are different and which one is to use in which situations. Now let's start by commenting all this code here. Okay. We use the let keyword to declare the variables that can change later. So basically during the execution. Here I will show you an example. Let age equal 30 and I'm giving when the person turns 31, age equal 31 and then the age of course changes from 30 to 31. And so it's perfectly okay to declare a variable with let at a one point of program and then later assign a new value to it. In technical terms, we call it as reassigning a value to the variable. For example, if we want to declare all the variables at top of the program but only assign actual values to them later in the program. Now, when we use the const keyword that are not supposed to change at any point in the future. So, the value in a const variable cannot be changed. For example, see here I am writing const birth year equal 2000 and now I am calling that variable birth year equal I am giving 2001. So here save and reload here. So we are getting an error. That is assignment to const variable. So that's exactly what the const keyword does. When we create a variable in const that cannot be reassigned. In technical terms, we will call it an immutable variable. So a variable that cannot be mutated. Okay. And this birth year is a perfect example for that. Because in fact, the birth year of a person can never change. While the age of course can change. And so that's why we used let for the course and const for the birth year. Now the fact that we are created in the const keyword that we cannot declare empty const variables. For example, here let's write const job and then commenting this one control slash and then reload here. Here we will get an error missing initializer in const declaration. So this error message means that when using const, we need basically an initial value. Just like here. Now with these two different ways of declaring variables, you will probably ask, should I use let or should I use const to declare a new variable? But as the best practice for writing clean code, I always recommend to use const by default and let only when you are really sure that at the same point in the future, variable needs to change. For example, when we have a variable that's really never supposed to change like this birth year, you should always use const. Also, if you are sure that the age variable is never changing inside of your program, you should declare it using const as well. The reason for this is that's good. and it have a little variable mutation or variable changes as possible. Because changing variables, it will create bugs, basically errors in your code. So again, by default, always just use const and let. So again, by default, always just use const and let when you are sure that the value of the code to change at the same point in your code. And so from now on, I will probably use the const way of declaring variables as much as possible. Now there are also a third way of declaring variables, which is the var keyword. But this one should actually be completely avoided. However, we should still know how it works for legal reasons, because you will see this in older code bases or some older tutorials that you will find online. So let's take a look at how it works. So var is basically the old way of defining variables prior to ES6, and at first sight it works actually pretty much same as let. Okay, now I'm writing here var job equal programmer, and now I'm reassigning the variable value job equal teacher. Okay, I'm commenting this const job. Okay, let's reload here. We didn't get any errors here because it allowed us to mutate this job variable when we use var, right? Looking like let and var are very similar below the surface, but actually they are pretty different between let, const and var. You will learn all about these differences later in coming sections. And now here I will show you one thing. Here last name equal name equal Priya, colon, and then I am giving console dot log. Just give the variable name, last name. Okay, and then reload here. See here, it displays here Priya, and JavaScript will display execute this, because even we don't mention any keyword here, either let or const or var in this case. Okay, but still it worked. However, this is actually a pretty terrible idea, because this doesn't create a variable in the current so-called scope. Instead, JavaScript will create a property on the global project. And once again, you will understand a little bit later what all of this means, but what matters is that you should always properly declare variables. Okay, never just write a variable like this without really declaring it. Okay, you are doing great progress here, even though our code doesn't really do anything yet. Okay, right, this is all about the keywords let, const and var. I hope you will get an idea about all these. I'll see you on next lecture. Thank you.